The sun was setting over the rocky alien market. Colorful lights flickered above strange-looking shops, and the scent of roasted starfruit floated in the air. People moved quickly, buying things, trading, and laughing. Among them, a human traveler walked slowly. He wore a brown jacket covered in dust and had a small backpack. His name was Jordan, and he had landed on this planet only 3 days ago. He had no plan, no destination, just looking for peace after a long war he didn't want to remember. Suddenly, something pulled his sleeve. He looked down and saw a little alien girl with pale blue skin and big golden eyes. She looked no older than 8 years in human terms. Her eyes were full of something strange, not fear, not joy, but hope. She said, in a soft but clear voice, "Human. My mother needs a husband." Jordan froze. He blinked, thinking he didn't hear her right. "I'm sorry, what?" he asked, confused. "She cries every night," the girl said, still holding his sleeve. "Since my father left, she cries herself to sleep." People around them glanced but kept walking. No one stopped, no one listened. Jordan crouched to her level, unsure what to say. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked gently. "Because you look kind," she replied, "and my mother won't ask anyone." He looked into her golden eyes, and something deep in him felt soft. Still, this was strange, too strange. "Where is your mother now?" he asked. "She's at home," the girl said. "It's not far." Jordan stood, thinking he should walk away, mind his own business. But he didn't. Instead, he followed her. They walked through narrow paths between tall glowing trees. The air grew quiet, and the crowd sounds faded behind. Soon they reached a small stone house with plants growing on the walls. The door was cracked open, and soft humming came from inside. The girl looked up at him and said, "Wait here." She stepped inside, and Jordan waited, his heart strangely fast. He could hear a woman's voice from inside, whispering something sharp and worried. Then silence, then footsteps, and finally the door opened fully. A tall alien woman stood there. She had the same pale blue skin as the girl, but her eyes were tired, red from crying. Her black hair was tied back in a loose braid, and she wore a long brown robe. She looked at Jordan like he was a ghost. "I apologize," she said quickly, her voice formal and tense. "My daughter should not have bothered you." Jordan raised a hand, trying to smile. "It's all right," he said. "She was just very honest." The woman's eyes narrowed. "She doesn't understand how things work," she said. "I'm sorry if she made you uncomfortable." Jordan shook his head. "No, not at all," he replied. "Actually, I was more surprised than anything." The woman stepped outside and gently pulled her daughter behind her. "You need to go," she said to Jordan firmly. "Please, before anyone sees you here." Jordan looked around, confused. "Why?" he asked. "Is it dangerous for me to be here?" The woman didn't answer right away. She looked at her daughter, then back at Jordan. "I am a widow," she said finally. "In our culture, we do not speak with outsiders, especially men, unless required." Jordan took a small step back. "I understand," he said. "But your daughter?" She seemed desperate. The woman sighed, the weight of years falling over her. "She is just a child," she whispered. "She misses her father, and she doesn't understand loneliness doesn't go away with strangers." There was silence between them. Then, softly, the little girl said, "But he's not a stranger now." Her mother turned quickly, shocked. "Lena," she said, but the girl stepped in front of Jordan. "He didn't laugh at me," Lena said. "He listened." The woman's eyes filled with something unreadable: pain, fear, and maybe a little hope. Jordan took a slow breath. "I'm not here to hurt anyone," he said quietly. "But if you ever want someone to talk to, I can just listen too." The woman looked at him long and hard. Then she nodded once, slowly. "Come tomorrow," she said softly. Before sunset. She turned, pulled her daughter gently, and closed the door behind her. Jordan stood still for a moment, unsure what had just happened. All he knew was that a small voice had touched something deep inside him, and now something had started. Something he couldn't walk away from. Jordan returned the next day just before sunset, just like she had asked. He didn't know why his feet brought him back, but his heart wouldn't stop thinking about those golden eyes and the voice that said, "She cries herself to sleep." The streets were quieter this time. The same glowing trees swayed above the narrow path, whispering with the wind as if they knew he was coming. His boots made soft thuds against the rocky trail, and his chest felt heavier the closer he got to that small stone house. When he reached it, the door was closed. He knocked once, gently, then waited. A few seconds passed. Then it opened, just a crack, revealing the same tired eyes from yesterday. She didn't speak right away, just looked at him, measuring him again. Jordan gave a slow nod. "You said to come," he whispered. She opened the door wider, letting him inside. The house was warm and smelled of something sweet and earthy. The walls were covered in old drawings, small handprints in faded paint, and soft cloth hung over the windows to block the strong red sun. The little girl, Lena, was sitting on a round cushion in the corner, hugging her knees. When she saw him, her face lit up like a lantern. "You came," she said, her voice soft but happy. Jordan smiled, then looked at the woman. Her mother, unsure of her name, unsure of everything. She motioned toward a cushion, and he sat down, his back straight and respectful. "I didn't catch your name yesterday," he said carefully. She paused, then replied, "My name is Xenia." There was silence again. Not heavy, but fragile, like walking on glass. Jordan looked around, then said, "Your home is peaceful." Xenia didn't answer that, but she poured a warm drink into a small wooden cup and handed it to him. Lena giggled. "You're our first human guest." Xenia shot her a warning glance, but Jordan chuckled. "I'll try not to break anything," he said, sipping the drink, which tasted like flowers and ash. Xenia sat across from him, keeping her distance, her fingers tangled in her robe. "My daughter should not have said those words to you," she said quietly. It was not her place. Jordan looked at Lena, who had now curled up next to her. Mother, eyes sleepy but still shining. "She spoke honestly," Jordan replied. "More honestly than most adults I know." Xenia's eyes lowered, and her voice dropped to a whisper. "She thinks if I am happy, she will be safe again." Jordan leaned forward. "Safe from what?" Xenia didn't answer right away. Instead, she turned her eyes toward the small fire in the middle of the room. "When my husband left for the war," she began, "he promised to come back." Her voice trembled, just once. But that promise was broken like many others. Jordan remained silent, letting the words hang in the air. "They say I'm lucky," she continued, "because I received news that he died bravely." Her voice grew cold, but bravery doesn't hold your hand. At night, Lena was asleep now, her head on her mother's lap, breathing softly. Xenia gently brushed the girl's hair aside. "She cries when she thinks I'm not watching," she whispered, "and sometimes I cry when she's asleep." Jordan felt something heavy in his chest, something he hadn't felt in years. Guilt, not because he had done anything wrong, but because he understood that pain all too well. He too had loved and lost. He too had watched a rune grow cold with absence. "I don't know what I can do," he said honestly, "but I'm not afraid to stay and find out." Xenia looked up, really looked at him, as if for the first time. Her voice was steady now, but her eyes still held the storm. "You are kind, but kindness fades when things become difficult." Jordan nodded. "That's true," he said, "but sometimes staying is the most difficult thing, and I've learned how to stay." Xenia said nothing, only reached down and pulled a blanket over her daughter's sleeping form. Outside, the alien winds began to howl, and strange lights danced in the sky. Jordan sat quietly, watching the flames in the center of the room. He didn't need to speak. Not yet. This wasn't a love story. Not yet. It was something older, something slower and understanding. A moment of stillness between two broken hearts. But in that stillness, something small began to grow. Not love, not yet, but the feeling that maybe, just maybe, healing could. Begin, and Jordan didn't leave that night. He stayed until morning, listening to the quiet breathing of a girl who no longer cried in her sleep, and the silence of a woman who for the first time in years did not feel alone. Jordan left the house just before sunrise. The sky above was purple and gold, with strange birds flying like silent arrows. He walked slowly through the village path, unsure of what had just happened. His mind was filled with the warmth of the fire, the softness in Senya's voice, and the sleeping smile on Lena's face. He hadn't planned to stay the whole night, but when he got up to leave, Senya didn't stop him, and that silence had felt like permission as he walked back toward the trader district. Something strange caught his eye. A tall figure stood half hidden behind a tree, dressed in a dark cloak with silver trim, watching him. The figure didn't move, didn't speak, only turned away and disappeared between the trees like a shadow. Jordan stopped, heart suddenly alert. Had the feeling that his quiet visit had not gone unnoticed. Back at the market, the air felt different. Vendors glanced his way and then quickly looked elsewhere. Two alien men whispered as he passed, one of them giving a slight shake of his head. It was subtle, but Jordan had seen that look before many times on many planets. Whispers meant trouble. By the time he reached the mechanic's stall where he kept his rented vehicle, the owner, an older alien with gray skin and cracked hands, met him with a sharp stare. "You were seen," he said. Without greeting, near the widow's home, Jordan stayed calm. "Is that against the law?" The old alien leaned in, voice low. "It's not written law, but it's older than any scroll." Jordan didn't reply, just nodded slowly and walked away. Later that day, when he returned to the little house, he didn't knock. He waited in the shadows, unsure if he should approach, but the door opened anyway, and Lena came running out with a wide smile. "You came back," she shouted, hugging his leg. Before he could respond, Senya stepped out too, her eyes serious, her voice soft. "You were followed yesterday," she said. "The council knows." Jordan looked at her face. "Calm but not relaxed, I figured." He said, "They don't seem happy." "They never are," she replied, "especially when humans stay too long." They stood in silence for a moment, watching Lena chase a glowing insect in the garden. Senya spoke again. "I should ask you to stop coming." "But you won't," Jordan said quietly. She didn't answer that. Instead, she said, "There is something you should see." She led him to the back of the house, behind a curtain made of rough cloth. Inside was a small room filled with jars, each glowing slightly, filled with preserved flowers, leaves, and strange stones. In the center of the room was a round wooden box, sealed with iron rings. Senya knelt and opened it slowly, revealing old papers, soft as ash. "These are my husband's letters," she whispered. "He sent them from the battlefield." Jordan knelt beside her, reading one of the faded notes. It was written in careful script, full of hope, of promises to return. "They stopped coming one day," she said. "No message, no body, just a council report saying he was gone." Jordan's hands tightened slightly. "They could be wrong," Senya shook her head. "Maybe, but on this planet, doubt is not allowed when grief has already been declared." Jordan stood, his mind spinning. Was this why the council hated outsiders? Because they brought questions where silence had already won. Outside, a loud knock suddenly echoed at the front door. Senya's eyes widened, and she rushed out, telling Lena to hide in the corner. Jordan followed quickly. 3 council guards stood outside, tall and armed with golden staffs. One of them spoke. "The human is forbidden to visit this house again." Jordan stepped forward. "She invited me." "That doesn't matter," the guard said coldly. "A widow must remain alone until the cycle ends." Jordan frowned. "What cycle?" Senya answered quietly. 3 full planet cycles of mourning. Only then can a widow seek new bonds. Jordan turned back to the guard. "How much longer?" The guard's eyes narrowed. "Less than 1 moon." He threw a scroll at Jordan's feet and walked away with the others. Jordan picked it up. Formal notice of separation, a warning of punishment if ignored. Senya closed the door, her hands Shaking. "They mean it," she said. "If you return, they may hurt you or worse. Take Lena from me." Jordan's jaw clenched. Let them try, but deep down, he knew this planet followed old rules made of fear and ashes, and those who broke them often paid a quiet, permanent price. As night fell, Jordan didn't leave right away. He sat in silence beside Xenia, watching Lena sleep under her blanket. None of them spoke, but in their hearts, something louder than words echoed, the sound of danger getting closer, and the feeling that something big was about to change. They dragged her out of the house at sunrise. Jordan heard the shouts before he even turned the corner. He ran, heart pounding, dirt kicking beneath his boots when he reached Xenia's stone house. The front door was wide open. Inside, broken jars scattered the floor. Flowers crushed, papers torn. Lena stood frozen in the corner, crying without sound, her hands over her mouth. She tried to stop them, a voice said behind him. But they took her anyway. Jordan spun around and saw the old gray-skinned mechanic from before. He pointed toward this central gathering dome. His face tight, his voice low. "They called it a cleansing," he said. "But you know what it really is." Jordan didn't wait. He lifted Lena in his arms and ran through the village, past people who wouldn't look him in the eye, past guards who let him pass because they didn't want to touch him, and into the heart of the dome where the whispers of judgment lived. Inside, torches lined the curved walls, glowing blue and gold. In the center, Xenia knelt on the cold stone floor, arms bound behind her, head bowed. 3 council elders stood around her, dressed in black robes, speaking in soft voices like snakes in prayer. Jordan stepped forward, still holding Lena, his voice shaking. With rage, "Let her go," he said. The eldest elder didn't even turn. "She has broken the morning code," the elder said. "By inviting a human into her home, she dishonored the vow of silence." Jordan looked at Xenia. Her face was calm, but her hands trembled behind her back. "I came on my own," Jordan said. "She didn't invite me. I returned." Lena cried harder in his arms. "Please, don't take her," she whispered. Another elder spoke now. "This child's mind has been tainted by your presence, outsider." Jordan stepped closer, refusing to stop. "If the law demands silence, then punish me," he said. "I was the one who stayed." This time the elders turned, all 3 staring at him with silver eyes. One said coldly, "You have no rights here." "I don't need rights." Jordan growled, "I need her safe." The dome fell into stillness. Then one elder raised his hand. "If you believe you belong beside her, prove it." A hush spread over the room, as if the walls themselves held their breath. The elder continued, "Face the trial of bond." Jordan had never heard those words before, but he nodded without hesitation. "What is it?" he asked. "You will be taken to the reflection grounds," the elder said. "You will stand before the mirror flame, and it will decide if your heart is worthy." Xenia looked up now, shocked. "No," she whispered. "That trial hasn't been performed in a generation." "But it is still law," the elder said, "and law must be served." They unbound Xenia, but only to pull her aside, separating her from Jordan. A guard took Lena gently from his arms, whispering, "She must wait with the priestesses." Jordan's fists clenched, but he allowed it. The mirror flame, whatever it was, would be his next step. The elders led him through a tunnel behind the dome, deeper into the planet's core. The walls turned red and the air became hot. Jordan's shirt clung to him as sweat ran down his neck. He didn't ask questions, he just followed. Finally, they reached a glowing chamber, huge and circular. In the center floated a fire unlike any he had ever seen. It didn't burn, didn't flicker, just hovered in place like a sleeping spirit. One elder pointed at a stone path that led to the flame. "Step forward, human," he said. "If your thoughts are false, the flame will burn you from inside." Jordan took a breath, then walked slowly toward the mirror flame. Each step echoed like thunder in his chest. He reached the center and stood still, staring into the fire. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, his memories began to rise. His childhood, the war, the people he'd lost, the loneliness after. And then Xenia, her voice, her quiet strength, the way Lena smiled when she saw him. He didn't try to hide anything. He just stood there and let the flame see everything. A sharp pain hit his chest. Sudden and deep, he gasped and dropped to his knees, eyes wide. Then the pain stopped, the flame dimmed. Then grew brighter soft blue this time, like a gentle sunrise. The elders watched in silence. One of them finally spoke, voice tight with disbelief. "The mirror accepts him." The guard stepped back, and Xenia was brought forward. Eyes full of tears she had held for too long, Jordan stood, weak but smiling. Xenia reached for his hand without hesitation. Behind them, Lena ran into the chamber, breaking every rule as she threw her arms around both of them. The elders didn't speak, didn't stop her, because the flame had already given its answer, and that answer was stronger than law. The sky turned blood red on the day the trial ended, not because of war nor storm, but because the planet itself marked it as a day of change. Everyone in the village noticed, even those who pretended they hadn't seen Jordan survive the mirror. Flame. Children stopped playing, shopkeepers spoke in whispers, and old ones stared at the sky as if remembering something lost long ago. Inside the widow's home, it was quiet, but the silence didn't feel cold anymore. Lena sat with her head on Jordan's lap, drawing lazy circles with her finger on his arm. Xenia poured warm tea and placed it beside him without a word. She had barely spoken since the trial, not because she was angry, but because she was afraid to believe this peace would last. "I thought it would kill you," she said finally, sitting across from him. "No outsider has ever passed." Jordan gave a soft smile. "Guess I'm stubborn." Xenia didn't laugh, but her eyes relaxed, even if only a little. "You didn't have to do that," she whispered. "They would have let you leave." "I didn't want to leave," Jordan said. "I wanted to stay with you two." Lena looked up, her face beaming. Xenia looked away, her hands folding tightly in her lap. "You still don't understand what staying means," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "They'll never let us live quietly." Just then, a loud knock hit the door, not gentle, not polite, but sharp like a threat. Jordan stood up instantly, instincts from his soldier days rushing back into his bones. Xenia froze, her face pale. Lena clutched her mother's robe, whispering, "Don't open it." But the door creaked open. On its own, a tall woman entered, wearing the black and silver robe of the High Council Speaker. Her eyes were cold, but her face showed no anger, only calculation. She stepped into the home as if she owned it, looking around with silent judgment. "You passed the mirror flame," she said to Jordan, "and that means we cannot cast you out." Jordan nodded, tense. "Then what do you want?" The speaker's gaze shifted to Xenia. "Tradition still binds the next steps," she said. "The law of final bond must now be fulfilled." Xenia's breath caught in her throat. "The final bond?" Jordan asked, "What does that mean?" The speaker turned back to him, her tone flat. "You must marry the widow before the moonrise of the third day." Jordan blinked, confused but not surprised. Xenia stood now, her voice stronger. "That law was buried generations ago. It was never erased." The speaker said, "Only forgotten." Lena tugged on her mother's sleeve, whispering, "Does that mean he stays with us forever?" Xenia didn't answer, not yet. Jordan looked at her, serious and calm. "I'll do it," he said simply. "If you want me to." Xenia's eyes widened. "You don't even know me fully." "I know enough," Jordan replied, "and I'm willing to learn the rest." The speaker gave a short nod. "Prepare then," she said. "The ritual must be complete before the cycle ends." She left without another word. Closing the door behind her with finality, Xenia stood there, staring at the wood as if trying to see through it. Then she whispered, "This isn't just a ceremony." Jordan moved closer, gently touching her hand. "Tell me," she turned to face him, "if we marry under their law, we belong to each other in ways deeper than your people understand." I'm not afraid of that, Jordan said. But are you? Xenia didn't speak. Instead, she walked outside and stared at the red sky above her house. Jordan followed her, standing beside her in the quiet. The wind blew softly, carrying the scent of old flowers and forgotten promises. You should know something, she said after a long pause. The last person who took this vow with someone not from here vanished. Jordan looked straight ahead, his voice steady. Then let them try to make me disappear. Lena came running out, holding a small ribbon made of glowing thread. Look, she said. I made this for your wedding. Xenia turned toward her daughter and took the ribbon in her hand, staring at the way it shimmered under the red light. She looked at Jordan, then nodded slowly. If you're willing. Then I won't run anymore. Jordan took her hand, strong and warm despite the fear in the air. And the village watched from behind their closed doors and half-drawn curtains. They watched and waited. Because if this bond was completed, everything would change. And change was something they had feared for far too long. The bells didn't ring. There were no cheers, no flowers thrown, no celebration songs. But the villagers still came out. Not to bless, but to witness. Because no one wanted to miss the moment when the widow would break a sacred rule, and the human would be chained by it forever. They stood at a distance, silent as statues, lining the edges of the ancient square, like watchers from another world. In the center, Jordan stood tall in his worn jacket, freshly cleaned by Xenia's hands the night before. Beside him, Xenia wore a long robe the color of starlight, her face calm, but her fingers curled tightly around the edge of her sleeve. Lena sat quietly near the old garden wall, holding the glowing ribbon she had made. It was her only gift, and she didn't know if it was enough. The high speaker raised her hand, holding the ceremonial seal, a disc made of cracked glass and living roots. She began the ritual in the old tongue, her voice echoing in the stone square. But halfway through the words, something changed. A sharp sound broke through the silence, a metallic crack in the distance. Xenia turned her head slightly, her brow tightening. Jordan tensed, his instincts waking like a beast. Another sound followed, then a scream, not of fear, but pain. Everyone turned toward the source, and what they saw made their blood run cold. A masked figure emerged from the edge of the crowd, dressed in shadowed armor, walking slowly toward the wedding square with a long, jagged blade in hand. The crowd backed away without a word, not helping, not stopping him. The speaker stepped forward, raising her staff. You have no place here, she said. The masked figure didn't reply, only raised the blade and pointed it at Jordan. He has defiled sacred ground, a voice growled from behind the mask. I will cleanse it, Lena screamed, running toward her mother, but Xenia grabbed her quickly, shielding her behind her robe. Jordan didn't move. He looked at the figure and said, Who are you? The mask tilted, then the voice came again, sharp with anger. I am the brother of the one she lost. A whisper ran through the crowd. Xenia gasped, her grip on Lena tightening. Riven, she said under her breath. You were declared dead. Years ago. I lived, he growled, and watched you break your vows with an outsider. Jordan stepped forward now, standing between Riven and the two he cared for. If you want to fight, he said calmly, then fight me. Riven lunged. Without warning, the blade flashing toward Jordan's chest. Jordan dodged barely, the metal slicing his jacket. The crowd gasped, but no one interfered, not even the speaker. Bound by tradition, not to stop a warrior's challenge once declared, Jordan picked up a ceremonial staff from the ground and blocked the next strike, stumbling from the force. He wasn't trained for this anymore. His body slower than it used to be, but his will hadn't changed. Xenia shouted, Stop this! This isn't justice. But Riven didn't hear or didn't care. You should have waited for my return, he shouted. You should have mourned forever. Jordan countered a third blow, and this time he pushed back hard, slamming the staff into Riven's shoulder. Riven staggered, his mask tilting. I'm not trying to replace anyone, Jordan said through clenched teeth. I'm just trying to stay. The next strike came faster. Jordan blocked again, but this time the blade grazed his arm, drawing blood. Xeno screamed his name. But Jordan didn't fall. Instead, he stood taller, eyes locked on the masked man. I didn't steal her, Jordan said firmly. I earned her respect. For a moment, Riven paused, breath heavy, rage trembling in his hands. The speaker stepped forward. Enough, she said. This was a wedding, not a war. Riven looked around and saw the crowd staring, not with support, but with shame. Even the old warriors looked away. He dropped his blade slowly, the anger burning down into silence. Leave, the speaker ordered. You no longer speak for the dead. Riven turned and walked away, his mask still hiding his face, but something in his step said he would not return. Jordan dropped the staff and fell to his knees, bleeding but alive. Xeno rushed to him, her hands pressing to his arm, tears in her eyes. You didn't have to do that, she whispered. Yes, I did, he said weakly. Because you're worth it. Lena wrapped her arms around them both, the glowing ribbon falling from her hand and landing softly beside the blood-stained stone. The speaker lifted the seal again, her voice calm now. Do you still wish to bind yourselves? She asked. Xeno nodded, her hand holding Jordan's tightly. Yes, she said. We do. And this time, there were no interruptions, no blades, no voices raised. Only the quiet bond of two hearts choosing to stand together, even when the world wanted to tear them apart. Rain fell for the first time in weeks, not the harsh kind that broke trees or washed away roofs, but the soft kind that soaked into the earth and made everything smell like life again. Jordan stood outside the little stone house, letting the raindrops fall on his face. Behind him, inside the warm home, Xeno was humming gently, and Lena was laughing at something she found in a basket, an old pair of boots too big for her feet. The wedding had passed quietly, just the way they wanted it. No more crowds, no guards, no masked men with old grudges, only the three of them, standing under the moon, holding hands, with the speaker's final words echoing in the wind. Bound not by law, but by choice. Life had become slower now, but more real. Every morning, Xeno brewed tea. Jordan worked in the village garden, and Lena collected strange bugs to show them both at dinner. The villagers still stared sometimes, but less often, and some, slowly, had even begun to greet Jordan when he passed one day. The old mechanic even gave him a nod, just once, but it meant more than 1,000 words. But not everything had healed. At night, Xeno would still sometimes wake in silence, sitting by the window, watching the stars with eyes full of memories. Jordan never asked what she was thinking. He would only bring her tea and sit beside her until her breathing softened. Lena, too, still looked over her shoulder whenever they walked through the market, but now she always held one of their hands, never walking alone. A letter arrived one morning, sealed in green wax, the mark of the High Council. Jordan opened it carefully, his hands steady. It wasn't a threat this time, but an invitation. They wanted him to teach at the new community school they were building. They called it a gesture of peace, a way forward. Xeno read the letter twice before speaking. They never invited anyone before, she said softly. Jordan smiled. Maybe they're tired of being afraid. She nodded, placing the letter aside and resting her hand on his chest, right over the scar where Riven's blade had left its mark. You gave them something they didn't expect, she whispered. Patience. That night, as the three of them sat by the fire, Lena climbed onto Jordan's lap with a serious look on her face. Can I still call you human? She asked. Jordan blinked, surprised. What else would you call me? She shrugged. Dad, maybe? Xeno dropped her teacup, but it didn't break. She looked at Lena, then at Jordan, her lips parting slightly. Jordan didn't answer right away. He pulled Lena closer, hugged her gently, then looked at Xeno with soft, steady eyes. If you're okay with it, he said, I'd be honored. Xeno didn't speak, but her eyes said enough. Brighter than fire, softer than rain. The next morning, they all went to the cliff that overlooked the village. Jordan lifted Lena onto his shoulders as the wind blew through her dark hair. From up there, the market looked small, The houses like toys, the paths like tiny scars across the land. This was my father's favorite place, Senya said, standing beside Jordan. He brought me here when I was a child, Jordan nodded. Then we'll bring her too. The rain had washed the dust from the world. The pain was not gone, but it was quieter now. It had made room for something new, something worth protecting. And though they had started as strangers from different worlds, one broken, one searching, they had chosen each other, not because they had to, but because something deeper than rules had pulled them close. As the red sun rose again, Senya took Jordan's hand. Lena wrapped her arms around both of them, and for the first time since her father vanished, she didn't cry herself to sleep. She went to bed smiling, because the home no longer echoed with loss. It echoed with laughter, footsteps, and the voice of a man who stayed.